started. I can't see the bottom of the picture thing. Hey everybody, and how's it going? I hope that this is showing up to you. I'm not quite sure yet. It's not showing here. Alright, we have picture. And we are on today, on this beautiful April the 25th. How is everybody doing this morning? Don't know if anybody's in the room. It shows so far nobody as yet. Let's see. So, how are you doing, Sir Austin? Good morning, Yamanu. You doing okay today?
Yeah.
And how are you doing, Yamanu? You've been doing alright? Enjoyed talking with you yesterday. It was a pretty good subject. Well, today we happen to be waiting on several packages to come so that we'll have better picture for our live stream. We'll have better sound and we can connect up the phone so that we can actually interview various people. Good morning, Nicole. Good to see you. Merry meet, everybody. We're waiting on several packages so that we could have a better picture. We can pick up the phones better so that whenever I'm interviewing people by telephone, then it'll all come through a lot clearer and it can be picked up by the new camera that we'll have at that point in time. And so I'm excited about that. I decided today that we would have a bit of an open topic and leave it to you guys to decide what you want to know. Hi Angie, how are you? And Angie says hello Austin. And everyone. Good morning Vicky, how are you? Everybody is pouring in now, and so I'm kind of looking forward to today. Just trying to get it together. I just got out of the shower. I'm all wild-haired. And, you know, we had some trouble getting the technical equipment together. You know, but I think we got it wired. And I hope that we're coming through loud and clear and not breaking up over there or getting this big old ass echo. If we are echoing, please, by all means, do let us know so that we can adjust the sound. Anyway, what is it that you guys would like to talk about today? That's what I want to know. And this is Coffee with Lady Leeanna, and today it happens to have with also guest host Sir Austin. Thank you, Yomanu. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so talk to me about book writers. Okay, famous book writers. What is your favorite? Who writes the best pagan books in your opinion? Because I'm always getting these questions. Patricia says, Merry meet. Hi, Patricia. It's good to see you as always. I'm curious what everyone thinks about the witches that are doing the binding spells against Donald Trump. Well, I think that that's a political matter. I think that politics are always going to suck, and so I try not to deal with it. As far as witches setting out against people just because they don't like them, I don't agree with that. I think that people shouldn't just start throwing around magic on the basis that they don't agree with somebody or don't like somebody. Hi, Freaky Unicorn. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. But as far as Donald Trump goes, you know, I can't say that my opinion of him is quite good either. You know, but that's just my opinion. You know, we're always going to have differences of opinion within politics. You know, but as far as people banding together and throwing around magic, I can't agree with that. Even if I don't like the ethics that are being imposed by Donald Trump.
Of course, on the other hand, I mean, if you're talking about magic, I mean, what's the use in magic if not to reach your own, your own ends.
Well, I guess that's true to some extent, but we do have very strong guidelines about casting against people. I mean, what are they doing against him? They're binding him. You know, I have to have very, very strong reason before I'll even bind a witch who's casting on somebody. I have to have proof on it. I have to know that they're really doing it. Otherwise, we're just binding somebody up, holding them in a state of stagnation forever, and for what purpose? And yes, Donald Trump has proven to be an ass. Okay, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that here on the show. That's only my own opinion. But I think that, you know, a lot of things on the web are show and tell anyway. A lot of people are throwing things around just to show. Good morning, Jennifer. It's good to see you on the show. I don't think I've actually had you on the actual show yet. And Vicky comes in saying Donald Trump is an ass. Of course, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I'm a strong believer in karma, and so am I. So to me, binding can be walking a fine line. And so we have people agreeing with me now on the fact that if you go into just binding somebody because you don't agree with them or their ethics or whatnot, then, I mean, what's to prevent you from going ahead and doing a spell to kill them, bump them off the face of the earth or whatever? And who's to say some of these people that you're banding together with aren't having that in their mind? And so, therefore, you're banding together with a bunch of people that you're not sure of. Quit making the face. Quit making the face.
I'm not seeing the
anyway,
here.
the fact of the matter, yeah, but you can't talk like that, especially on live public television, okay? And that's what this is right now. But, I mean, you know, you band together with people on a social media or online at all, you don't know what their mentality is. You don't know what their thoughts are, and if you're banding together with them and lending them your energy, you're as guilty as they are. And so, good morning, Jane. How are you doing? I haven't seen you on the show before, I don't believe. Let's see. So, you know, banding together to cast on one individual, I think that that could be a little towing the line there. I'm not going to say harsh. Oh, Myra, good to see you as ever. I love you to death, dear girl. Okay, favorite books. Some mentioned Scott Cunningham.
I like both of those, Scott Cunningham and Buckland.
And somebody named Raymond Buckland. And you guys, when you're talking about the actual subject, as Nicole pointed out yesterday, please, if you're pointing out something to do with the actual subject as far as an answer goes, or if you're asking a question, and just the actual question or just the actual suggestion, highlight it by all caps. That way I can be sure and see it, because I have all this text scrolling up and down in front of me from all of you guys, and it could become a little tedious trying to pick through it, you know. But yeah, as far as casting on somebody, you know, I just don't know if I can agree with that. If it's involving in politics, if it's somebody that's breaking the law heavily and you know it beyond the shadow of a doubt, they're hurting somebody, I can see bringing them to justice, and that's considered gray magic, in my opinion.
So, with me though, I mean, the way I look at it is like, you know, it's okay to do any of that as long as it adheres to whatever your law of morality is. I mean, because
exactly.
everybody's going to be different. I mean,
and you don't want to have something accorded to you, karmically speaking, from now on. Good morning, Sarah. You don't want something karmically added to you for the rest of your life because you're kicking yourself, or because, you know, you've done something that goes against your pathway.
Which is another reason why you shouldn't do magic whenever you're fresh and new, because you haven't fully organized your thoughts on what is right and wrong. So you have to study the religion before you actually practice magic.
And here's one of my biggest strong points that I always make out there to everybody. Now, I do get behind using magic against folks like the Islamic State, who destroy people, culture, and subjugate people. Now, if someone is guilty of torturous crimes against humanity, or crimes at all, if it's devastating or very bad for somebody, if it's hurting somebody, crimes against humanity or nature. Now, if they are doing that and it's well known, if it's been established beyond the shadow of a doubt, then I will bring justice to them. But do remember that justice is justice, and there's a fine line at which you could surpass justice and become a very dark magic practitioner, even considered evil. Or become unjustice or just as cruel as that individual that you're setting against, correct?
Yeah, that's true, and really, and as long as you is after the deed is done, then I mean you can still live with yourself, and you're good, you know.
Yeah. So really and truthfully, it's making sure that you think through everything that you're doing before you sit down and actually do it. And Nicole is agreeing with you as far as the point you made, I believe, regarding, you are going by how you feel as far as what you can put out there and what you're going to get back.
Yeah.
Karmically speaking, that is.
I think one of the things that I got from going from stepping away from one of the things that I got from stepping away from traditional religion is that instead of relying on a deity for to dictate what my morality is, it really kind of forced me to look at myself. It's like, how do I feel about this,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, and I think that's what people need to do. I think if I remember from my psychology classes, they would call that post-conventional morality. And I mean, if as long as you're all right with yourself, then you can, then you're not really doing anything wrong.
Right.
Even if other people are judging you.
That depends on you. It really does, and that's where I feel that we create our own heaven and hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's go to the board for a minute. When you call upon justice, make sure that you yourself are worthy as an enforcer. Involved, the other enforcers may judge you as well. And that is true. If you believe in other enforcers, or depending on what deity or what group of spirits you believe in. Do unto others as you want for yourself. Jane says, and that's true. Always sit there and think about what you're doing, and if you feel that it's right. Because if you can come up with any idea that it could be wrong, then you are going to judge yourself with it later. Now, Angie makes a good point that I want to go to right now, because a good question, rather, because it's a very good question, something that I've been wanting to address for a long time, because there are a lot of kids out there and adults that cannot come out to their friends, family, or bosses or whatever regarding being a witch. And she says, how would you or would you at all come out to your family and friends regarding being a witch? Well, for one thing, I have a shop right here in the middle of hillbilly country where I sell pagan products, and I do tarot card readings, and I have been for over 15 years. My family walk in here, although they don't like what I'm doing, they can go suck an egg, if they disagree with it, and they know that, but my family aren't the best anyway, so I won't go a lot into that. As far as Austin's family goes, they know what our religion is. They don't like to talk about it much, but they're not exactly against it either.
Yeah, they're very neutral about
They're
it.
very neutral. They don't want to talk about it so much. We don't talk about religion at all around there, because that's one of their conventions, is they don't want to talk about money, or they don't want to talk about religion or politics in open groups where there could be two or more people that would disagree with each other. And I like their ethics, you know, as far as people that are not pagan, but are in fact Christian, and yet believe that other people should follow their own pathway. So, how would you, or would you at all, come out to your family and friends regarding being a witch? How would you? Indeed. Well, you know, all you can do is sit them down and say, look, I've been wanting to tell you this a long time. I believe in this way, form, or fashion, and that is called paganism. Wicca, witchcraft, paganism is an umbrella term for all these religious paths that would go under it, the same as Christianity is an umbrella term for Baptist, Pentecostal, Catholicism, and so forth. You know, all you can do is just tell them, and you know, you've got to be strong enough to say, you know what, I am who I am. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Nobody can live my life for me. I'm not going to be swept under a rug. And anybody else can make their own decision as to whether they want to be in my presence or not.
There's, I was just thinking that there's also the option of just going about your business and not really hiding it, but at the same time not really going out of your way to sit them down and have a formal conversation with them, you know, and that way it kind of normalizes it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. But, you know, we're asking a question that could be different for so many different people. I've got viewers here on the channel that would literally be executed by a gunshot to the head or be decapitated for believing along with us because their family is Islamic or is of some other culture or religion.
Yeah.
There are people that their own family would take them in the backyard and pull them apart. And I had one of these talking to me about how long ago?
It was quite a while ago, but he was from Malaysia.
Malaysia. He was Malaysian, and he made it quite clear to me, you know, he could not come out to his family because he would be torn apart by their own hands. And, you know, somebody not liking it is definitely not going to stop me from doing it. That's true. I mean, you've got to be who you are, but remember, you know, I mean, are we talking about you being against just your family? Or are we talking about you being against an entire culture or country where other people will be sure and pull you apart, decapitate you, put a gun bullet in your head? Now, Omira says, my family does not agree with my practice. My biggest issue is the oldest son. He is 23. And by that, I'm sure she's talking about her brother. And does not like what I practice. But I respect everyone's opinion and beliefs. They don't have to approve my path. But see, that's the thing. We're talking about them approving. We're not talking about you. Because we as pagans are actually groomed to be open-minded, to let other people follow their own pathway and their own conventions without us trying to convict them, because that is not within our character on a usual basis. Let's see. Yomanu, go ahead.
I was just saying, here's an interesting one. Hi, Leeanna. I have a question about a love spell. I've had a vision of my husband with a thin red ribbon around his forehead, and I'm not sure what that could mean. Love spell? That kind of sounds like what the Japanese call onishi, right?
Well, it could be, but it could be a lot of different things as well. Onishi?
Mm-hmm.
Inishi. I'm sorry. You said it weird, so it was hard for me to... What the hell are you talking about? Anyway, the red ribbon around the head could also signify that you feel that he's cheating on you and it's coming out in your subconscious and it's a red flag. It could also be the thin love ribbon that says, okay, this man is who I'm so desperately in love with and it could never be anybody else. So it could go two different ways with that. But when you're dreaming about somebody, you have, or something, you have to pay attention to everything within your dream, the numbers and colors of things, the atmosphere within the room, the people that show up in there. There's so many more details that you have to pay attention to and cannot draw a conclusion about what a dream is trying to tell you just based on one concept.
That's true.
Elmira says, my son is 44 years old. Oh, well, girl, I thought you were a baby girl. I thought you were like, what, 15, 16 years old, actually. But, I mean, it's good that I know more about you, and you're still my baby girl regardless. Your son is 44 years old. And back to the comment that you made where this was brought in is he does not like what you practice, but you're going to do what you want to do, and he doesn't have to approve your path, and that's absolutely correct because you're a grown woman. I don't care if you're 18 years old, you're still a grown woman. Smiles. So do what you feel you want to do, and if you're not in one of those countries that could decapitate you, remember you could always be, and it could be a lot harder for you. So be strong. Get strong and let everybody know what you believe in. I feel that there are certain occasions where you have to tuck that pendant. If you have an overzealous, say, Christian boss and you have no other jobs lined up, you may have to tuck that pentagram for a while. I've seen people have to do it.
Yeah, you've got to keep religion out of the workplace. Anytime that I've brought religion or politics into the workplace through a stray comment or anything, it ended badly.
Yeah, even if it were just trying to joke with somebody you thought was a friend on the job.
Yeah.
And it ended up kind of negatively, correct?
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant.
And it was with who you thought was an open-minded, but nevertheless Christian.
Yeah.
And she ended up being not so open-minded and ended up trying to convert you after the fact.
Right.
Which is generally the case. Let's see. Large community of witches in Massachusetts. Is there?
Yeah, there's a very large community in Massachusetts.
I know there is in LA. I know there is in Houston. But, I mean, we're talking about largest cities in the United States here. Fortunately for me, the scarab amulet is not associated immediately with things that could scare other people as far as religions go. And there are many other symbols. And I did a show recently regarding creating your sigil magic. And your sigil could look like anything. And generally, if you create it correctly, and mine are generally created from the Wicca shrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, like CSI, Covenant Shadow Insights. Not the TV show. We came before the TV show. I cannot say that enough. But Covenant Shadow Insights came out CSI, and it formed actually the shape of the peace sign, but there was a variation on that peace sign by having the right hand leg, instead of going straight down and dropping, it would go out to the right just a little bit, have a dip out of it like a bite taken out of it, continue on, and then drop down. And Wicca shrooms or any other kind of runes are very good at making your own sigil out of, your own power symbol. And by the way, if you make your own power symbol, your own sigil, and have it casted into whatever you want it to look like, then it could be a hell of a lot more potent for you than taking a symbol that already exists. And if you haven't watched that video, then you ought to go back and look at it. That video is very, very powerful and explains a lot about sigil magic, creating your own symbol. You have the sign on the pillow behind you, in case folks did not know what the peace sign is. This is definitely me, and by the way, it would make sense that this would come through in my actual sigil, my own personal symbol. And that is a very, very good point there, Yamanu. Thank you for pointing that out. So, yes, the peace symbol. Also, I have the Pegasus horse on the side of my leg, and I mentioned that yesterday, which remains to be the sign of peace and freedom with the wings. Wings always represent freedom.
There's actually a very, very interesting story about where the peace sign came from. It was actually originally a bio. It was like a corrupted. I believe it was like a corrupted biohazard sign turned upside down,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually
Do you feel that that's where the peace sign came from?
yeah,
Because I thought the peace sign came back before that, and the biohazard sign, I guess it's been around for a very, very long time, but, you know, sigils, I guess, are the same as many other things, as you might not even take notice that something exists until it's put right out in your face.
Yeah.
And then you see it everywhere. It's just everywhere, right?
Yeah, because I believe it was created during the Vietnam War era. So basically what the peace sign is literally saying is the reverse of war.
Right.
I mean, it's the reverse of, you know, all the chemicals and destruction.
Now, Angie says, I don't quite understand how we make the sigil. I watched the video, but still don't quite get it. Other than what I put out in the video, I really don't know how to improve on that much more than by just saying that we're using the side of one letter that is imperative in making the sigil to form the next letter.
Mm-hmm.
And also that you can't put every letter into that symbol, so you weed out all your vowels first, and then you weed out any extra letters that have already been put in there somehow, form, or fashion. You know, it's not something I can go into here because we have so many other topics going. Had a doctor's appointment, and Daddy had to go to work early and take order to pull a double shift, so I had the boys last night. So still having trouble with that relationship of yours. I can understand that. The peace sign reminds me also of an encircled variant of the Nordic rune, Elias.
Okay, what is
Elias. How would you pronounce that?
Yeah, what is
I'm going to spell it out in the way that you would pronounce it, and tell us what it represents or means.
Yeah.
That's what you were going to ask, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're going to be reading each other's minds on here, and you are going to be left in the dark. No, but okay, there's a lot of people that have been asking what are the best writers out there on pagan books. I love the runes also, Vicky. Elhas. And that's what I said to begin with. So I had it right the first time. Elhas. And what does that mean exactly? But my favorite authors are Scott Cunningham and Raymond Buckland. Because I feel that they're really good beginner books. I always ascribe to those writers for my new students that are coming in, or for people that are asking what are the best writers. Gina Dunwich has a really good book on herbal magic and the garden witch. So that's a really good set of authors for you. Scott Cunningham, Raymond Buckland, and Gina Dunwich. Those are good books to check out. One of my newer favorite authors are Raven Grimassi. I guess I'm a little bit holding there because I've actually met him, had a good conversation with him, and actually interviewed him at the Pagan Day Festival last year. And I have a video with that in it, although there's so much background noise, it's kind of hard to hear what the two of us are saying. You can make it out if you listen closely. But Raven Grimassi has a bunch of good generic books out there that explains a lot of your roundabout ideas about what paganism is about, or what could be done, how you could go about it. Judica has a great line of books too. How do you say that? Judica Illis has a great line of books too. I've never heard of that author. Have you?
No, I've never heard of that one.
Of course, I have been a lazy reader for a good while now. The Big Blue Book. Okay, That's a good book, and that's the one I always kept here in my shop whenever I was selling pagan merchandise here in the shop. Now I'm just doing the tarot card readings for people.
Yeah.
But I always kept a good stock of the Big Bucky's Blue Book of Magic, and always ascribe to that book for my beginner students coming in, you know, because it tells a little bit of everything, but it by no means tells you everything of everything. So it's a good starter book, and you should, if you haven't already read it, go into that. Angie says, do you have a video on runes? No, I do not at this point, and I'm not actually a practitioner of runes. If you're talking about the scrying tool, the runes. Now, if you're talking about your runes as far as the alphabets go and the spelling out with runes, I don't have anything on that either, but there's a lot of material, and really you just have to go and decide on runes or look it up on the web and decide what you want to go into as far as the beautification or what feels very synonymous with you, and choose your set and study them until you know them really well. And remember, your runes are very, very important in writing out spells of protection on your books that you don't want other people to be looking into when it's none of their business, or wood burning down your staff, or whatever it is that you want to do with that. Ilahaz, or Ilgaz,
Ilhas.
Elhaz, and it's spelled with a G, so it's a little throwing, is a powerful rune because it represents the divine might of the universe. It is associated with the divine protection and intervention. That makes sense.
So
I like that. I'll have to do some studying on that because I've never heard of it.
That would kind of be associated with peace in a sense. I mean, as far as the protection aspect that kind of associates with peace.
Right. The peace sign. What else?
Divine might.
Divine might.
Divine might.
What are you saying by this word?
Divine might. In the divine might, it kind of contrasts a little bit because, I mean, divine might kind of indicates that maybe if it would be associated, if it would be similar in the peace sign in practice, then it would be like forced through seeing order, something that's more powerful than you and being in awe of it, and therefore being drawn away from chaos.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
One asked, what are some good starter crystals? I believe it was Angie. Scroll back up a little bit because I missed that comment. If you have the mouse. Just a little bit. Angie asked, what are some good starter crystals? Don't have much money. Okay, some of your good ones are, and these are very important to me, and I can only give you what is important to me, but I've seen them used in many, many different pathways and by many people I'm in contact with. The tiger's eye as for psychism and the all-seeing eye, as far as being able to put things into focus, as far as being able to meditate. Turquoise as far as your spirit animal and being at one with the earth. Jade as far as money spells go. Ruby as far as sexual love goes. Rose quartz and clear quartz as far as where your true and pure love is concerned. Pink generally for between a mate and yourself or a would-be mate. And white for the pure true love between yourself and a child of your own or something of that nature. And those are the best ones I can give you there. Go by the color because generally it's not going to lie to you.
What do you think the cheaper of those would be?
The cheaper of those are all pretty cheap crystals to get.
So that's good.
Actually, those are all very cheap crystals. You can pick up, jade is not going to be one of your cheaper ones. That's one of the harder ones right there. But you can improvise that with a lot of other stuff. How are you doing, Glenn? How's it going? It's good that you could join us before, while we're still going on strong here. Jade, a good um, alternate for jade, people. We need a good alternate for drawing money to yourself that is a cheap crystal or stone. Let's see, and scroll down a little bit.
Wouldn't
Thank you, Nicole. That's very sweet of you. Lady Ella has a lot of experience, and I trust her. She has taught me a lot. That's very sweet. I feel so drawn to all of you guys, too. Nicole's one of my best friends on Facebook. I love her to death. And sweet Susie, I haven't ever seen you in the room here, but I have known you for a good long time. And welcome.
wouldn't crafted crystal also be good for money? I mean, I know it's kind of weird, and it's not
Crafted crystal.
like something that you would like,
Like the little
regular
chandelier crystal?
yeah, like regular glass with little bits of lead, because I know that
Lead is a drawer of
is
money.
a drawer.
Lead is a drawer of money, but remember, you don't want to keep a hunk of lead in your house either at the same time.
Well, crystal once it's crafted, it would be there. It's so little that it would be relatively safe to
I love
use.
you too, Nicole. Another idea is the pyramids. You can find in a lot of your pagan or occult stores, stones of various types. Onyx. Black is a drawer. Okay. And you could use black generically to draw anything it is that you're wanting to do. So one of the best and cheapest things I could suggest for you to keep on your altar is a black onyx or black stone of some sort. Bloodstone is a good alternate for drawing money, by the way.
Oh.
I didn't think of that, and also is used for healing. Green aventurine. Aventurine, says Vicky, that is a very good idea as an alternate money drawer over jade when you're looking for cheaper stones and crystals. Let's see. Come back with the bed of my truck filled to the max. You can never get enough crystals and stones to put around your house. Pyrite draws money too. Absolutely. Actually, you can go into the hills of Montana and still get pyrite, which is also garnet or fool's gold, things of that nature. It's all the same thing. And generally, because they're gold color and have very distinctive money connotations to it, and are synonymous with the goddess and god Isis and Osiris, your Egyptian gods and goddesses, which, by the way, if I'm correct in assuming so, Yamanu is very much in touch with all of that, and he has a lot of good, vast knowledge to do with your Egyptology as far as religion goes. So if you want to ask him any questions on that, I'm sure he would be glad to answer it some for you. And he's a very smart fellow. I almost got a little tongue-tied there. And when citrine is good for drawing money also. Is that what Sherry is saying?
Yeah.
And welcome to the show, Sherry. Let's see, malachite, also a good one. But see, aside of drawing money, what else is there that people might want to draw to themselves? A garnet ring, that would be good. And copper ring for health of the body. And I've heard this all my life, even from your mundane people that are not following within the paths of spirituality as per paganism goes.
Copper actually, certain microorganisms can't grow on copper.
And what is the reasoning for this? Do you have any idea? Just the acids in it?
It's just that a lot of microorganisms don't like the they can't grow on the surface. They can live on it, but they can't grow on it.
Right. I hear you.
So that makes sense about what you're saying.
Absolutely. And is there anything that you would like to add to that? about the whole subject.
Well, I mean, naturally, I mean, anything that has
Money draws money.
yeah, money draws money. The copper.
That's true.
Any
Revenue.
basically, it seems like anything that would be associated with wealth. That's why I was thinking that maybe the crafted crystal would also work, but I'm not really sure how that would work. Obviously, I haven't been in magic for a while, so but yeah, I mean,
Helen made a
copper
good
and
point yesterday. I'm sorry, I
yeah.
shouldn't jump over you, but while this is fresh in my mind, Talon Wing Dancer made a comment yesterday, and I agreed with him wholeheartedly because he uses some of the same techniques that I do, like keeping a $2 bill near his green candles or his candle works for drawing money. And I told him, in fact, in the show yesterday, that I have a $2 bill with a prayer written on it and stuck in my picture frame on the wall of my business. And I had the same prayer written on another $2 bill that is stuck in my wallet so that my wallet will replenish itself with money by people walking into my shop. So those two things walking hand in hand together could help to bring money. Also, various coins stationed just so around your green money candles or whatever. And Sherry says lodestones, and lodestones are one of the best things that you can use. And these days you can get what they call green lodestones from a company that sells them. But I feel that these green lodestones are actually just painted, and I don't know that I can agree with that. However, lodestones are well known for drawing different things to you, and the colors that are around it might have a bearing on that. Just remember, you have to feed your lodestones. If you do not, they're not going to draw anything. Safety first with burning anything or everything. Yes, anytime you give anything to the fire, and I do this with my written prayers quite a bit, I'll have a stew pot underneath me to where I can drop it when it gets a little too hot into my stew pot. But if you have an offering bowl, a bowl that you use to give back to the earth later, it's always for the best. Just make sure it's big enough to catch that. You don't want air blowing, air conditioner vents or whatever right on you when you're doing stuff like this, because people burn up for making big mistakes. As far as smudging, your first smudging, just make sure that you're safe with that and keep something below you, because I noticed with sage smudge ones you get a lot of flyers, and I've burned material in a couch, an expensive couch, with the flyers that are coming off of my sage smudge wand. Also, you know, if the flame lands on your skin, it burns pretty hot. And you definitely don't want to be tangling with that. So keep something, a dish or something underneath. A stew pot, only if you're like giving your prayers or whatever to the flames or whatever. But with a sage smudger, you want to keep a tray specifically for that, or an offering dish right under it. Let's see. And saging all the time, you can never do that enough. Just represent or just indicate that you're wanting to cast out only the dark, negative, or evil, and you're wanting it to leave from your place in the name of the almighty deities. And be commanding, because if you're asking, they're going to say,
Here's an interesting question. Okay, smudge cleanses out pretty much everything, right?
With the right prayers, with the right feelings and faith, yes.
Okay, Okay, so if you smudge, then wouldn't it it would clean out the good as well as the bad?
No.
Or
Not,
it's like,
well, I mean, okay. Your words. You ever hear that your words punch like a fist? Watch what you do, because if you say things, I'm sorry, baby. Please forgive me. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Anyway, they say that abusive wives, words can punch like a fist. If you sit there and you command all the spirits out in the name of the almighty deities, blessed be, and you're commanding, then all those spirits are going to not feel welcome. So the good are going to leave with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though you're saging, and saging gets rid of the dark and negative, you know, saging can even run you out of the house for one thing. But the words that you're saying out there out loud to everybody else, you know, then it can make anything want to leave. You know, you don't want to make anything feel unwelcome. So be very specific. Your words are going to be very, very important there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, a sort of ancient cross between a tambourine and he's making a reference to another comment that he made earlier about you can effectively clean by a sound through the air. And I use a bell. He says sound, clap, sing, crystals, your wonder rod. Anything that's dark, negative, or evil is not going to want to set around your house whenever all this beautiful vibrations are pouring in from all the higher power and flooding your house. The bad is not going to want to stay. Now, right over my altar, I use a bell or a rattle over the body of a person that I'm doing a cleansing on. And so this is a very, very good statement, Yomanu. It's very important for people to know that you can cleanse with sound. Now, I have a thing where I'll go into a singing or humming, and I don't know what I myself are saying, but I channel spirits. And most of the time, it's a Native American woman that comes through, and she begins singing this one particular song, and it has this one tune to it. And I don't know what she's saying. I don't know what she's singing in the song, but it's so beautiful, and a lot of my students have actually heard it and seen me go into this state, and they love it. And it cleanses the air and everything that's bad. Any negative feelings that you've had just go right out the doorway. And that's because Native Americans were very, very devout on cleansing, purification, and sound, as a matter of fact. Very sounding.
You're talking about the little Tinkerbell. For
The bell?
Yeah.
Over the altar and things of that nature. I have a bell on my altar. Bells are good to keep. You can, you know, it's a resonation of everything around you. It's stirring up the air. It's cleaning the air with a high-pitched tone for the most part. Of course, you can get bells that are very loud and very deep. I don't suggest this. It doesn't clean as good. Do you have anything that you would like to add to all of that?
I got the funny mental image of, you know, I got the funny mental image of wearing a white bandana and using a huge gong to to do any cleansings and such with.
And Yomanu makes a point here, tobacco is a very, very good cleanser. Actually, at the rodeo fairgrounds, when one group that is in the nearby sanctuary close to me here where I live, they were a big, big group at this point in time, but they actually rented the entire rodeo and fairgrounds to do a Beltane fair one year. And they came to me for any advice that I would give them. And the first thing I told them, I said, before you start all your rituals and before you start doing all the things that you would do in their arena, which is where they were going to hold a lot of their rituals, I said, take pouches of tobacco and pray as you sprinkle it onto the ground. Because it's such a big place that holy water, it would take a lot of it. It would take a lot of prayer and a lot of time to do that. So I told them, use tobacco, a pouch of it, a big pouch of it, and go all over this arena place and all over the bleachers. Sprinkle it around. And it's actually an old Native American trick. It was used in Egyptology, I believe.
That'd be a lot of tobacco, though.
Well, you don't have to use as much of that as you do everything else because it is so potent. And I always ascribe to taking a bucket and maybe mixing that along with some red pepper, along with some sulfur powder, along with whatever else. Make a big batch of a mix of shit that's going to run different kind of spirits off, and for the hills they're going to be going, you know. I What are your opinions? I cannot give you my opinion on this because it could reflect me in a negative way, form, or fashion.
If it's legal,
we're in the social media right now, and we cannot comment on that at all.
Right.
Because this is just a big no-no as far as social media goes. I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. And Angie wants to know the same thing. I just cannot comment on this. I can say that I will take and I will make a mugwort, Damiana, and let's see, what else did I use? Chamomile and some nettles, and let's see, what else? What else did I use? Nettles and other neutral herbs that are not sweet or whatever, just to carry the rest of it, because too much of anything can become toxic. And you're taking it right directly into your body, especially when you're talking about mugwort and Damiana. They're not generally toxic, but when you take them, and lobelia, when you take them directly into your body, they can become toxic. And the word toxic, I guess, is a man-made word for anything that can make you feel a little tipsy or good or whatever. You know, so this is kind of generic and neutral. But I would make a mix of mugwort, Damiana, a little bit of skullcap, but be careful. Skullcap can be very toxic. Chamomile, and then nettles, and a few other of your neutral herbs to create a mood enhancer and an elevator, you know, for whenever you're getting ready to do your meditationals or whatever, you know. And so this is all I can say about that.
Of course, naturally, you would want to do your research to make sure that you get the proper ratios right. As
always, when you're taking in any kind of medicine or herbs, then you need to follow some suggestions and advices from other people that know, as well as use it sparingly and be very, very cautious with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, too many people say, well, you know, herbs are just herbs. They're not going to do anything. Well, you know, I mean, garlic is a blood thinner. So are aspirin, and so are the blood thinners the doctors prescribe for you. Let's say one day you, and let's say you're on a blood thinner from your doctor, and you're having a headache, so you take 2 to 3 aspirin. And then without thinking about it, you use a lot of garlic on your food. Well, you're taking in way too many blood thinners, and it makes you a free bleeder. And let's say maybe you're a free bleeder by nature anyway. You could lay there and bleed out for all anybody would know, and you don't want to do that. This is only an example, and only one example on how using herbs can go wrong. Let's see.
What are basic herbs for
this about Talon brings in again about anyone read about the binding spells aimed at Trump. We've already pretty much covered this, so I would say go back and watch the video from the beginning whenever it's ran up. Let's see. What are basic herbs for a witch? Starter herbs. Starter herbs would be some of the ones I've already named. Damiana, witch hazel, mugwort, patchouli, dragon's blood resin. Let's see, what else do I use? I have a cabinet full of it. Mandrake root. Be very careful in handling mandrake. Okay? Belladonna is hard to get, and you probably should not mess with that without gloves. Anyway, it can soak through the skin and kill you.
And it's likely illegal where you live.
And it's likely illegal to grow, at least, where you live. However, witch's flying ointment is actually made with belladonna. Do remember to get knowledge and wisdom before you handle mandrake, belladonna, and things of this nature, because those are killers. They really are. They're good. They work for certain things within your rituals, but they are killers if used in abundance. Starter herbs, still on starter herbs. I suggest that you keep charcoal disc in your house. I suggest you keep patchouli. Lavender is a good one for peace and tranquility or love. Rose hips are good for health and vigor as well as love. For drawing money, patchouli, dragon's blood. Devil's shoestring is more used for elevation, invisibility, invincibility, and levitation.
Also binding, I think, right?
And binding. Yeah. Absolutely. So, devil's shoestring is a good one. Follow rules of being cautious with devil's shoestring. Let's see. Other herbs that are good in your cabinet. Does anybody else have any other ideas?
That's a hell of a beauty treatment, Glenn.
Droplets in their eyes to make them sparkle. Okay, yes, but eye doctors also use belladonna mixtures in their eyes to, what do you call it? To expand and dilate the eyes so that they can do your eye examinations, and they've long quit this process. And they've started using other things to do the same thing. But that is true. It is true. Women used to do that to make their eyes look bigger and, in their opinion, to become more attractive. But do remember that the belladonna was extremely thinned out by so many other things, as well as with the eye doctors likewise. So don't just go and put belladonna in your shit. I mean, one seed of a belladonna berry can kill 15 people. Did you know that?
Unless you want it to sparkle.
Unless you want it to sparkle. Everything for the beauty. Anything for the beauty. Yes. Was there a question here? Angie says, I forgot the caps, and she's the one that's been using the caps to emphasize her question, which is, by the way, the right thing to do. Just for the question, just for the important thing that you want me to catch note of. Otherwise, everybody will be doing it, and then it'll be worthless anyway. But yes, what was the question here that Angie asked? I've heard you can, when on a tight budget, use a tea bag and just cut them open and use the herbs out of the tea bags. For what? For doing what?
Using the herbs inside.
For doing what?
For you doing your rituals.
For doing whatever rituals. I mean, it depends on what kind of ritual you're doing.
Well, that's what...
and it depends on what kind of tea it is, because do bear in note there are, 22 tea bag types on your shelves at the regular local grocers today. Your regular black tea, let's see, what is regular black tea for? Because, as we all know, that every herb is good for something. Regular black tea is for waking and vigor, we know that, because it does contain the caffeine, and the knowledgeable connotations of it can be just as important as the actual physical connotations of it.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying go out to play with belladonna. I know that, Glenn. I'm just reminding people, because you can say one thing, and there are people that just will not take into consideration how poisonous these berries really are. And so I'm not really saying, whenever anybody says anything, and then I come back in emphasizing on anything, I am not targeting any person. I am emphasizing, I'm putting things in caption, and I'm trying to make everybody realize that knowledge and wisdom is everything, and that's why we're watching the show today. Rose herbs, online affordable. Also, I use Star West Botanicals. There's a couple of different ideas of where you can go to get your herbs. And Star West is actually a low-budget wholesale company that sells to everybody as long as you buy in bulk. So you might go through Star West Botanicals and get your herbs. Or, let's see, Mountain Rose, according to Nicole. So check those places out. They could be very good. Let's see. So yeah, let's see. Is there anything else that we would like to cover today? We have about 8 minutes before an hour is up. I mean, I know that we're basically right on an hour, but is there anything that we would like to say before we get off of here? Uh, Talon says, I like to work with Belladonna and Datura occasionally. Just be careful. And so Talon there is agreeing with me. And yes, there are certain herbs they will tell you to use gloves before even handling them, because some of the herbs are so potent they would absorb through the skin and can poison you, the same as if you ingested it by mouth. Hey Mitch, it's good to see you, Mitch Mary. Um, she says she's got the herbs in the huge kit. I like to keep a good stock around, and I have a trunk of them. But watch out. You want to keep it very, very controlled, because it takes nothing for little gnats and weevils to get in there and start bedding down. Let's see. Sarah says, how do you tell if something you're feeling is psychic intuition or just your own worry or paranoia? Well, for one thing, if it's persistent, then it's going to be definitely your psychic intuition. And if it gets closer each time the instances occur, the same as for your reoccurring dreams or nightmares.
Well, to be fair, paranoia carries
It's kind of
this.
reoccurring. Yes, but I mean, okay, you also know whether you've been diagnosed with this or not too, or maybe you know that you're too worrisome or you're full of paranoia a lot of the times, and so you would have to go by your own habits.
Yeah, it is kind of a trial and error.
I mean, it's a trial and error thing for each person. I don't know how to tell you the answer to that, because everybody is different. Does that make sense? Is that a good answer? Let's see. Let's talk about mythical creatures. Oh, that's a big subject. I would say that we could pick that up tomorrow, Glenn. I would say let's do that one tomorrow. Mythical creatures.
The best way that I've heard it explained is whenever I was reading a book of about shamanism, and it was actually several people interviewing various shamans, and a shaman in various definitions is somebody that's they've got wisdom through madness, and basically that would be a shaman is one that would have one foot firmly planted in one world and one foot firmly planted in the other. So that means they're not completely crazy, but they're a little crazy.
But they're between. I mean, that's why they're highly respected in the old days.
But exactly. And my main point is that in order to have have a gift like psychic intuition, you do have to have one foot firmly planted in each world, and you need to kind of that's where there's really no. I don't think there's. There's obviously precedents, because there's shamans and witches and witch doctors out there, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to tread that line between wisdom and actual psychological illness.
It was good to see you, Patricia, and yeah, you too. Join us tomorrow. I think that we'll end on that note for today. There are a few suggestions on things that people would like to talk about very soon. And I just told Glenn that we would talk about mythological creatures tomorrow. And there is Jennifer and Angie that wants to talk about the Book of Shadows and shows to come up. So we'll take note of that, and we'll go into those on the shows to come. All right.
Also, I think at this time, I think I'd like to ask everybody, if you haven't subscribed, then I would please subscribe. If you really like the show, then consider supporting us on Patreon, and also If there's anything that you disliked about the show or just that we can improve on, then let us know.
All right. Yes, do show your support in one way, form, or fashion. We love you all, and merry part. Bright blessings.